My thoughts.
Your thoughts?
I thought it was terrible.
Why?
There's nothing going on underneath it. It's the least substantive movie I've seen in a while. It's trying so hard to impress you and to make it seem like there is something going on, which I find very cloying.
Do you think the film feels sort of full of itself?
It thinks it's so awesome and it's so grandiose, but there's just like nothing going on. I think it's a big waste. I think everybody in it is actually pretty good.
I love Barry. I mean, he's one of my favorites.
I would even say Ilorgi's really good. I like him, but it's all for like a movie and a script that's completely empty.
Every time I think about that movie, it moves down my list of enjoyableness. I mean, when I saw the movie, I had a good time,
You were hanging out with friends and stuff too.
but I came out of it thinking Barry does a great job. It looks really good.
I don't even think it looked that good, dude.
It does feel a little student film-esque, sort of the self-consciousness about it, as if it's trying to impress you with its sort of visuals. And
And it's also this transgressiveness too that it's trying to impress you with, and I'm completely unenthused by it.
it's trying to shock you, but the stuff isn't actually
It's not
that
shocking at all
shocking.
to me.
And I see this on Letterboxd. People will take their friends who aren't into movies and they'll be like, "That's the most shocking movie I've ever seen."
That's crazy to me. Well, we're about to watch The Devils. I'll show you shocking.
It feels full of itself. It feels like it's trying to be shocking and on the edge of things, but it feels so self-conscious.
It's got this evilness about it. I think its ideology is kind of evil. It has a kind of like conservativeness to it.
Maybe that's part of the reason that I don't like it and you don't like it, is this sort of conservative undertones to it. Even though it's supposedly eat the rich, that sort of thing. But if you actually
It's not.
think about it, it's not that
No,
at
it's
all
not.
because it makes him the bad guy.
Yeah, the rich
The rich
people,
people are the good guys.
they don't do anything necessarily wrong. I just thought the whole twist at the end where the whole thing is premeditated, I just thought that was ridiculous. So he knew from the beginning that Jacob Elordi's family had a castle, and he's like, "Well, I'm gonna do this thing to try to get his castle." I don't understand what the point of having the castle is, and then the ending is supposed to be, "Oh, so he can dance naked and." Because he's by himself. They throw in the line when they meet his parents where he's like, oh, he always loved being alone and stuff. So now he wants a really big castle to live in. It's just not a good enough reason.
I was talking about this movie with some of my kids who saw it recently, and they're like, I don't understand why he wants to be so rich because he's already rich.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's just like,
It's not even middle class. His parents own a home in
yeah,
fucking wherever the fuck they are, which is a fucking expensive house to live in. He's already rich. It's not like he's climbing up the ladder.
he just wants a really big castle, which is just silly.
And I knew the whole he's tricking them. It's very obvious.
When she did dies in the bathtub, you're just like, okay, yeah, I'm sure she did that herself. I'm sure there won't be a reveal that turns out he did it. Of course he did it.
Which is why it baffles me they even have that moment where they show all the things that he did. Fucking
Yeah.
obviously. He obviously did. This is very clearly happening. And
It's one thing to be like, oh, it turns out he did it all. It was all like whole big plan he had. Well, what's the plan? What's the goal of the plan? There's too many questions left unanswered. Too many stupid, simple questions. How was he able to get Rosamund Pike to sign over everything to him? I'm assuming it's because everyone is dead and her kids are dead, and he's as close to a kid.
it just seems like a very far-fetched plan. The amount of things that have to go right for this plan to work.
And the goals
What is it that he wants?
and its use of music, I thought was fucking disgusting. The way that it tries to capture a time period, I thought that that was lazy and pathetic.
I mean, I'm currently at 5 out of 10. When I saw it, I was at 8 out of 10, but it's quickly moving down to 5 out of 10. And
I'm really not trying to be super negative. It's just a baffling film.
it feels predatory almost. It's the modern day A24 Oscar bait.
Is this an A24 movie? It's not, isn't it?
No, it's not A24, it's MRC.
It's trying to desperately look like one of those movies, though. It's trying to tap into that kind of thing.
Which is why it feels so gross. There's no reason for it to look the way it does or to do the thing it does. And it's certainly not the voice of our director here. It's just trying to pick up on a trend.
And I mean, I knew I wasn't probably going to like it very much because we saw our last movie and that was terrible. And this is also really bad. And the ideology in that movie, too, are just also just weird and backwards. But for some reason, people gravitated and attached to both of these movies as being uplifting, powerful tales or something to aspire to or something. But I think it's the opposite.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me in a very different way, but I'm reading some of F. Scott Fitzgerald's short stories right now, which are it's a great collection of short stories. It's called The Jazz Age, and it makes me think back to when we were in high school and we were reading The Great Gatsby, and they sort of aspire to the relationship status of
Well, it's a Wolf of Wall Street too.
but it's a good movie.
Yeah, if you watch Wolf of Wall Street and you get the wrong idea, that's on you.
Yeah.
These movies, though, I guess I can kind of see why people might be a little bit tricked by it, I guess, which is why maybe I find it so annoying.
I think it does a very good job of it, but it's not, even though Wolf of Wall Street's tricking you, I don't know, it doesn't feel
But it's not tricking you. If you actually watch The Wolf of Wall Street and you think, oh, yeah, that's a movie to aspire to, I don't know what to tell you. You've completely misread the movie. But Saltburn, if you actually think about it for at least a few minutes, because the movie is very flashy and it has a lot going on, and I can see it tricking you. But if you actually like sit down and think about it, this movie doesn't make any sense. It's completely a mess.
fuck you, Saltburn.
Probably the worst movie that came out last year that I saw.
There's some big words.
I try not to watch bad movies. I was curious. It was like, I know I'm not gonna like it, but I'm way too
The same thing you did with Promising Young Woman. You did the exact same thing.
well. Promising Young Woman. It was 2021, and theaters had just opened, and we were like, I just want to see a movie. I think that was the first movie we saw post quarantine because that was the only thing that looked interesting to just go see. That's an experience I'll never forget. But the movie was really bad, and we hated it. So I was too morbidly curious about Saltburn to not see it. So I had to see it.
You're probably going to watch all of her movies.
I mean, considering the success of this movie, they're probably going to give her more movies.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's so nauseating, man. We were talking about holdovers earlier. I have my qualms with it, but that movie is about young people, kind of like how Saltburn, I guess, is about young people. I think it handles it way better. That movie has like a dignity to it, at least.
Well, that's the other thing. Saltburn has this really weird way of seeing children or college students or whatever.
The way they see gay people is weird.
It's selling gay sex as this weird, and it's not like he just happens to be in love with a man. It's this has to be weirdly,
Like grotesque, yeah.
yeah, which is gross. I mean, not the gay thing. The gay thing's not gross, but the way that they're selling sort of gayness. It's an exoticism, really, is what it is, right?
Yeah.
They're sort of making this sort of weird, exotic, forbidden thing, but it's not. It's just a thing. It's
Not a good movie. Just was really not impressed with it at all.